So we're just getting started this morning. The weather isn't the best today, so we're just going to do what we can. We're going to get the top down plugged into this Mercedes CLK 220, and customer complaint with this one is it doesn't start, and it suspects it's something a bit more sinister. So we're going to crack on, get a health scan done and see what happens. So let's just get this plugged in. Okay. Where are we? Underneath here. Now I don't know what the battery's like on this vehicle, but hopefully it's alright. What the hell is that beeping? What is that? Oh, it's stuck in reverse. What on earth? So in reverse at the moment, the reverse lights are off, but if we knock it into neutral, the reverse lights come on. What the hell is going on there? So I'm just going to leave it in reverse at the moment. I'm going to shut this door. So that door's shut. Let's just do a health scan and see what comes back. It's a bit of a strange one. So we're in the topology menu at the moment. Let's do a health scan now. With this being a 2004-2005, the health scan's going to take a little bit of time, so I'll come back to you once that health scan's done. So we've just carried out a health scan and I'm going to show you the fault codes. So we've got quite a lot to look at here. And the first one, upper control module, fault and CAN communication with the EZS or EIS, so the ignition, fault and communication with the push button. So that those three at the moment I'm not really interested in. When we go into the rear SAM, we've got fault and communication with the front left door control module, front right door control module has a fault with the communication as well. We've got a couple of miscellaneous things happening in the front SAM as well. Now if we go into EIS, under voltage, not interested in that. ESP, under voltage again. The customer did have the battery disconnected, so that's probably why. Got a few faults in the engine side, which isn't relating to the no crank, no start. So you can see there in the convenience or air conditioning, it's reporting of fault in communication with the basically both doors. Now would that be enough to stop it starting? Probably not. You can see there again, fault in communication with the doors. So what I'm going to do is just save a report on that, just so we've got it there. So now that that's saved, I'm going to clear the DTCs, and once that's done I'll come back to you to see what is still active, because I think a lot of these DTCs are to do with the battery being disconnected for a while. So I'm going to clear them first and then I'll come back to you guys. Okay, so we've cleared the fault codes and a lot of them have went away for the under voltage circuit terminal faults and stuff like that. The ones that we have got left are B1094 and B1093, which is fault in communication with both front doors. So it's basically got fault in communication for those two doors, but what I'm going to do is deal with that fault code first, do the basic tests on that, and then we'll see what happens after that, because it might be that something's just dropping out that network. So I've got the wiring diagram up at the moment. The top down's just cut out because I've let it run out of battery. Lovely stuff. So right here, A31 and A32, that's the driver's side door module, that's the passenger side door module. So it's basically just spliced into the one network, and then runs up to our CAN block connector, which is usually at the driver's side under the carpet. So CAN bus connector, floor pan, driver's side. So we can either strip the door card down, test the network going to the driver's side door module, or we can test it at the connector by the left hand A pillar. It also could be a power issue, so it could be a blown fuse, so we'll need to check the power input. So let me have a little look at the addition. So if we go into doors and windows, fuse box inside the cab or inside the car. So we've got F21 and F22, both fuses there run down, so that supplies power to the driver, and this one supplies power to the passenger side. So I've pulled up HGS data, and I was originally going to look at HGS for the fuse locations, but this is what I've found in the passenger side, sorry, the driver's side on this car. It's a fuse diagram. Now, nowadays you don't have, well, usually most cars don't come with any sort of fuse assignment. You can't look and figure out which fuse is which. Even if you have got, you know, a little book, a lot of those fuses will just be listed like BCM or something, and it kind of doesn't make any sense to the customer. So if he was looking for, you know, something basic, it might be listed under like BCM, and it's ridiculous. But this one here, being old school, has actually got every single bit of detail for the engine bay fuse box, the trunk or the boot, and the driver's side fuse box. So it's got every single fuse assignment on this bit of paper, and luckily enough somebody hasn't chucked it away during its life. But let me show you what fuse we're looking for. I'll just spin you guys around. So if I zoom these in there, power window front 21 and 22, and that matches with HGS 21 and 22, so those should be 30 amp fuses. So what I'm going to do is grab the OTC. So we're going to use the OTC, we're going to go across those fuses just to make sure that everything's all right there. So if you look at that there should be 30 amp fuses in. Is there a peg in there? Is there a terminal? I think there is. Those cables run into there as well. So I'm actually looking at the wrong fuse, so I'm looking at F33 and F32. We should have, well, according to the diagram, we should have two 30 amp fuses in 21 and 22. So we've made a mistake. The customer came over to us. Now, we had a conversation with the customer very briefly over the phone. You know how it is when you're driving onto a job, you know, you get information, but sometimes it doesn't register in here. So the customer said that those two fuses were removed because the windows kept going down themselves intermittently, and he would come out and he would see obviously it'd be soaking. So the window fault is one of the faults, but it's irrelevant. You know, the fuses and all that are missing. That's been done just to stop the windows from going down themselves. So that's a bit annoying. I should have. He did say that to me. Now that I think back on the conversation, the customer did say that, you know, that was one of the things that they'd done. So my fault. It is what it is. But he's also told me that a second-hand front SAM has been fitted to try and rectify this no crank, no start. Now, I'm just going to focus solely on the no crank, no start at the moment. But one thing I will show you is when he says about the front SAM, obviously it needs the variant coding done. So I'll show you. Remember, we had this issue with when we turned the ignition on. If I put this in neutral, the reverse would come on. I just went straight into variant coding, and you can see reverse gear there, reverse gear. Can't get my words out today. So it's right now it's put as a normally open contact. We want to change that. to a transmission, sort of manual transmission. So we're going to click OK, and we're going to click Write Coding. So we want to transfer the coding over, and you can see the reverse is now off. So that is one of the faults fixed, but we will need to properly program this front salmon. So it's just resetting the control module at the minute, but that is why the reverse gear was coming on while it was in neutral. The coding was just wrong. So what I'm going to show you now is how we're going to test the starter circuit. Now, I've already tested the earth, I've tested the basics, I've tested the earth, I've tested the power going down to the starter. I'm going to show you where the signal wire is and how we can test that. So if we come along here, now our signal wire is that thick purple one just in there at the front SAM. Now, if bearing in mind I've tested the power and I've tested that we've got a good earth on the engine block. Now if I come across and just apply power to that wire, I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear the starter solenoid engaging. Now there is power getting down to that starter, so why is this engine not turning over? Is it likely a bad starter, or is it something a bit more sinister? Let's do a little bit more digging on this. I'm just going to test something that's often missed. I'm just going to turn the engine over and make sure it's not seized. So that engine is turning nice and freely. So we've no issues there. At the moment this has got a bad starter. So we are back and we're working on the CLK today. Now I've already started on this mission of getting this starter motor out. It's actually not a terrible job, but it's 10 times worse on your back than it would be on a ramp. So I'm going to run through again what happened with this vehicle. So the customer came out one day, the vehicle wouldn't crank. So long story short, the front SAM got replaced. After the front SAM got replaced, there was a couple of electrical issues with the vehicle, so that's when he phoned me out. I ended up, diagnosing something with the windows, which the customer already knew that the fuses were out, because I didn't take that information in when he was telling me. So I focused my attention on the starting fault, and it turns out that the starter was indeed faulty. So I've got a new starter with me today, and we're going to get it fitted. I've already removed the old one. It just goes to show the importance of listening to the customer, because some customers don't tell you every single bit of detail, but this customer did, and when he mentioned to me about the windows, it clicked. It did actually tell me. It's just because I wasn't taking the information in. I was too focused on the no crank condition. So when the customer replaced the front SAM module on this car, the variant coding was wrong. So basically, when we had the gear stick in neutral, the reverse lights were coming on because it was on a normally open or normally closed contact. I can't remember, but you'll see that just in the last clip there anyway. Once we changed the variant coding over, the reverse lights were fine, so that fault was cleared. We have still got a fault with the windows, but it's very intermittent. So I said to the customer that we would get the starter fault done first, get the starter fitted, make sure it's going to run and run all right, and then we can come back and deal with the window issue another day. But that's where I am now. I'll just show you the old starter motor. It's currently sitting there. I just tested it on the bench as well, just to make sure it was definitely knackered, which it is. Now if I take you over here, now don't worry, there is axle stands under this vehicle, so I'm going to turn on my torch at the moment. Right, let's slide under. Oh dear. I'm going to need to remove the mic here because it's resting right on my neck. So let me move the mic down a little bit. Hopefully, I'll just take the the little thing off, the little screen. Now you can see there the starter motor lives in that crevice there. One thing you do need to check is it has got an inline fuse. That inline fuse on ours is fine, but the most tricky part is getting access to the top bolt. Now I've done that with an extension or multiple extensions going into a quarter drive, and then there's a flex head up there which basically removed that bolt for me. So that's the starter motor. I wouldn't probably advise doing that if you're a DIYer, it's a bit of a nightmare, but it is out, so we're going to get a new one fitted. Now, I'm not going to show fitting the new one, but once I've got it fitted, we'll come back to you and we'll try and crank the vehicle, and hopefully the thing starts up. So let's get cracking on with getting it fitted, and I'll come back to you once that's done. This was also the contraption that I had to make to get into the top starter bolt. Now, if you're going to do this job, that's probably going to be the biggest problem you're going to have. You can drop the transmission brace at the bottom and it will let you get in with a wee bit more room, but if you have got an extension, so 3/8, and then you've got your quarter to 3/8, and then the rest is quarter, and I fitted a 11mm socket onto it. I've just taped that up a wee bit because it's worn and it's quite loose, so that managed to get it in and out no problem, so happy days. So moment of truth, guys. Will she start up? Let's have a little look. The battery's still flat. Right, the battery's absolutely goosed on this thing, so I'm going to connect up my top down and jump it. Now, I don't know how much charge this thing's got. Probably not enough to jump this, unfortunately. But let's just see how we get on. So if I boost it, so it's boosted now. Hopefully this has got enough. Where's the key? In my pocket. So let's give this a bash. Lovely. So she starts up. Apart from needing a battery, not even got any warning lights on the dash. So we'll leave this running for now, try and let it charge up for a little bit, but the customer will probably need to replace that battery. So there we have it, a simple fault, fix this issue in the end. Now let's kind of go through what happened here. So customer came out, with the car wouldn't crank, so he had this issue before and he got away with replacing the front SAM. So the customer goes out, gets a used front SAM module, fits it to the car, and then he's got two faults. It won't crank, plus the reverse lights are on. So we had to change the coding in the front SAM because it thought it was a normally open or normally closed contact for the reverse switch. I cannot remember what one it was. We then diagnosed the fault to be a faulty starter. So we've fitted that today, rectified the starting issue. All the customer needs to do himself is charge the battery up or get a replacement. So it's a bit of a long-winded video for the sake of a starter motor, but I'm putting this one out there because it just shows the importance of listening to the customer, try and get as much information out of the customer as you can, because it can help you in the long run. Now we will be coming back to look at the windows another week. Like I said, I don't normally do jobs like this because they take up a wee bit of time, 1 to 2 hours, which I don't really have, but I wanted to see this one through, and well, obviously for the video purposes as well. But thanks for watching. Remember, click that like, share and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.